हरि ओम। ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणा नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्युम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। हरि ओम. We are attempting to understand Brahma Sutra Shankara Bhashya, in which we are trying to study the first adhyaya, the first adhikarana called Samanvaya Adhikarana. And we have so far seen the 3 sutras of the 4 in Samanvaya Adhikarana. The very name Samanvaya Adhikarana indicates that there is a confusion about the Samanvaya in Veda. All the Astika Darshana, that means all the Astika Darshana means those who have faith in Veda. All the Shad Darshanas are called Astika Darshanas because they considered Veda as the prime source of knowledge. In this Astika Darshana, each one has tried to interpret the Veda according to the best possible understanding of the main Muni or Acharya of that particular darshan. Now, we find some statements in Veda, more so as we progress from the first part of the Veda, from the Brahmana, Samhita, Aranyaka, and Upanishada. As we start moving onwards and go towards the end of the Veda, where most of the Upanishads are located, they are also located in Aranyaka. At these points, we find some statements which apparently do not make any sense. For example, Atma areva mantavyo shrotavyo nididhasatavyo. This is a statement. Atma is to be done manan upon, shravan upon, and nididhyasana upon. Now, by doing or by reading this statement, If it is told to me and you, our question would be, what do I do? Atma is to be done Shravana. Means what? Okay, I have decided to do Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana of Atma. All of us, we have decided that let us do Shravana, Manana, Adidhyasana or Nididhyasana of Atma. What is the next question? Means what do I do? If I am told that do Kariri Yaga or Yajna or do Agnihotra, do Sandhya, we don't have to be told now what is to be done. We will immediately start with the preparation of getting the samidha, creating the bowl or the area for doing the yajna. Then we will have a specific mantra for the yajna. Then we will pray to the Agni. Then we will offer the samidha into the yajna. Lots of procedures followed after the instruction. But when I am told that please do Nididhyasana of Atma, my question is, what do I do? Then they say, no, just think about Atma. Because thinking is also a karma. That means all the statements that apparently do not seem to have any sense have to be ultimately interpreted in some manner so that the Vedas make some sense to us. On one hand, we say Veda is the prime source of knowledge. Agreed. If he is a prime source of knowledge, then two conditions should be met. One, there should be nothing in the world which is not in the Veda. Irrespective of whatever scientific progress you make, you should be able to show that what is being done in science is also there in Veda. Our inability to do so is not the reason to discard the Vedas from the scientific standpoint. But you require a stalwart of the level of Swami Vivekananda to tell you that even the entire science is there in the Vedas. Because of which, in spite of the fact that he was not a student of theoretical physics or astrophysics, he was still able to engage in conversation, people starting from Lord Kelvin to Nikola Tesla in the discussions. He was able to say that Darwin has failed to a miserable extent in defining the evolution, because evolution is better defined in Sankhya Tattva Jnana. So he was able to correlate the Vedas properly with all the scientific information and knowledge available in this world. So that means for a scripture to be called as the source of knowledge, it has to have everything that has so far happened in the world, that is happening in the world, that may happen in future in the world, should be included as a part of knowledge, which all the Rishis and Munis say is there in the Vedas. So it is all inclusive, one part, that is fine. Second part is, such a source of knowledge if Veda is, then each statement of Veda should make some meaning out of it. Then we have to somehow find out what is the meaning of what is mentioned in the Veda. Uttishta Jagruta Prapya Varan Nibodhat. Agreed. Get up, arise, awake, and find out somebody who knows better than you and learn from him. But this statement can be interpreted in very different ways. A Purva Mimamsi or Karma Kandi will say that, oh, look, they're talking about get up from your place and listen to the Advaryu of the Yajna and start doing the Yajna. It's correct interpretation. If a statement is there which says you must know, In how many ways it can be interpreted? You must know. Somebody will say that, look, they're talking about science. You must know the science of the world. Somebody else will say that, look, he's talking about morality and ethics. You must know the ethics and morality. Now, the sentence "you must know" with a full stop has given rise to multiple interpretations. And these interpretations, every darshana tries to interpret in their own way. As a result of which, as the darshanas progressed forward, the darshana called Purva Mimamsa or Karma Kanda was an elaborated development of the interpretation of Vedas, and it interpreted Veda as Veda tells us nothing except how to do karma, karma, karma. In other words, there is nothing in Vedas other than karma. In fact, a statement was made by Jaimini Maharaj that in case there is a statement which does not speak about karma in Veda, it is anarthak. Discard it. But then some people said that how can you discard a statement from Veda? Veda is so much knowledge, storehouse of knowledge. Then he said, if that is the case, then interpret that statement also properly. You will come to know that it is ultimately talking about karma only. In other words, Purva Mimamsa emphatically says that Veda doesn't talk a word about Brahma. All the statements or utterances which are seen as loose statements in the later part of the Vedas, in the earlier part of Vedas, there is no question. In the earlier part, it is talking about Devata, Deva, propitiating them, doing yajna, saying mantra, different types of advaryus, different types of hota, agnihotri, udgatri, different types of rishis. That's very simple and easy to understand. As we progress towards Aranyaka and Upanishad, then those sporadic statements which are coming, more so in Upanishads, are the one which are difficult to interpret from karma point of view, because their interpretation becomes very difficult from the karma standpoint of view. Yastu sarvani bhutani atman eva abhudvijanata. Ishavasya Upanishad says that all the people around you are one and the same. Now, how would you interpret this from Karma Kanda? The Karma Kanda says that it is your duty to treat all your brothers as one and the same. While the other interpretation says that once you do arohan, or once you arrive at the higher level of consciousness, automatically you see everything as you only. Again, two interpretations. That is how interpretations are different depending upon how the Shastra looks at it, how the Darshana looks at it. And that is why there was a serious contention by Purva Mimamsaka. And mind well, it was not only an interpretation, it had effect on the entire Bharatvarsha. Because once the Vedas are interpreted in a particular way, the Rishis are telling it, the elders are talking about it, everyone else follows. That is why in every Indian household, yajnas were done. What was the lifestyle of the person in the Vedic period and later on? Even at the time of Shankaracharya, getting up in the morning, doing this prayer, doing that prayer, doing your Shraddha, doing your Chandra or Surya Grahanadi, any function or vidhi that you are supposed to do, then doing the yajna, then doing Graha Yajna. There was a specific Shastra for setting up that particular yajna. So all this was considered to be the essence of Veda. And this is what you do. That's it. Your Purushartha is complete here. And when it was pointed out to them that what about those statements which you see in Upanishad, they don't talk of any particular action. What do you do there? For example, in Ishavasya Upanishad, there is a Rucha which says, Saparyagat, Shukram, Avranam, Akayam, Asnavaram, Shuddham, Apapavidham, Swayambhu, Paribhuho, Yatha Tathyato, Avidat, Arthan Vidat, Kavir Manishi. Now, this is a description of something which, what it that something is, how to interpret this. Now the Purva Mimamsa find it difficult to interpret. So they interpret it in a form of upasana. They say this is the description of the devas. This is nothing else but description of the devas. And you are supposed to pray to them. As simple as that. This is Purva Mimamsa interpretation. Vedanti says, no, this is the description of Brahma, not about anything else. So there is a conflict in interpretation of opinion, interpretation of the utterances or the writings of the Veda, more so of Aranyaka and Upanishada. And that is the reason why Brahma Sutra has been written, in which so far qualifying candidate has been described. If you want to know the Veda from the Purva Mimamsa point of view, then Jaimini Maharaj starts with Athato Dharma Jidnyasa. Now, Atha is Mangala Swarup, agreed, but Atha means qualifying criteria. What is the qualifying criteria for Dharma Jidnyasa? We are studying Brahma Jidnyasa, which is Uttara Mimamsa. But Purva Mimamsa's first sutra in Jaimini Sutra is Athato Dharma Jidnyasa. The qualifying criteria there, as described by the stalwarts like Prabhakar or Kumarila Bhatta, it says that the one who has read the Veda completely, who has done the Adhyayan of the Veda, after reading the Veda, Dharma Jidnyasa will start. The innate interest, inspired interest to know what dharma is. In other words, Veda speaks of dharma and adharma. Because that which is not dharma is adharma. So if you understand what dharma is, understanding adharma is not difficult. So to know the dharma, Vedas are written. That is why Ataha Dharma Jidnyasa. Now, that means after reading the whole Vedas, qualifying, Adhyayan, understanding, getting the Paroksha Jnana, now you are ready to know the knowledge about the Dharma. That is how the interpretation of Purva Mimamsa is. Shankaracharya has to defeat all these people who are interpreting Veda in a different manner. He has to fight with the person who wants to interpret it in Sankhya way, who wants to interpret it in a Vaisheshika or a Nyaya manner. He has to also fight with the Buddhists who are anyway Nastika Darshana. So the Jainas, the Buddhists, Nyaya Vaisheshika, Sankhya Yoga, all these are the argument opposition parties. And they are not going to just listen, because they all are started by the stalwart Rishis only. Kanada Rishi, Gautam Rishi, Kapil Rishi, they are not of a very common intellect. So it has to be argued intellectually in a philosophical manner so that he could defeat all of them and then establish the Advaita Siddhanta and Brahma Jidnyasa. That is why Brahma Sutras were basically written to reconcile the apparent differences. Reconciliation of apparent differences in Veda, as far as its interpretation by Shad Darshanas are concerned, is the prime motive for writing the Brahma Sutra. Badarayana Rishi wrote the Brahma Sutra to explain that how, all these are properly related, all the Vedic utterances. But the problem was what he wrote itself became a mysterious thing because it was difficult to understand. So Shankaracharya wrote an elaborate bhashyam on it, explaining what precisely Badarayana Rishi wanted to say. Vyasa Maharshi, what is he exactly saying through his sutras? Shankaracharya is trying to explain. So first thing he says that na athato na dharma jidnyasa. That is not what the Vedas are meant for. Athato Brahma jidnyasa. Vedas are meant for knowing the Brahma, not dharma. Now, Purva Mimamsa is the closest to the Uttar Mimamsa or the Vedanta. So the maximum attack first came from Purva Mimamsa. That is why in the first Adhikarana, Samanvaya Adhikarana, Acharya is trying to refute the allegations made by Purva Mimamsik people. So first allegation he refutes is, you people are talking about Dharma Jidnyasa. Please understand, Veda is meant for Ataha Brahma Jidnyasa. The Purva Mimamsik said that how can you say that when Gemini Rishi has already written that it is Dharma Jidnyasa? Then Acharya says, your qualifying criteria to know Dharma is the Adhyayan of Veda Vedadhyayana. My criteria to know that this is not for Dharma but for understanding the Brahma is being Sadhana Chatushta Sampanna. So Acharya first differentiates between who can understand Veda as source of Brahmajnana, Sadhana Chatushta Sampanna. What about those who are not Sadhana Chatushta Sampanna? Then they will interpret it as Dharma Jidnyasa. But the Purva Mimamsiks are not going to be tolerating this so easily. They are going to further pursue their own argument. Acharya gave its argument as Athato Brahma Jidnyasa Janmadyasya Yataha. Everything is born from Brahma. And Shastra Yonitvat. Even the Vedas are born from Brahma, and it is the only born thing out of Brahma. From Brahma, many things are born. Now, when we say born, we are not talking about reproduction. We are talking about adhyasa only. But for sake of saying, we say born from Brahma. The true word would be born of Brahma. Janma Adi Asya Yataha. That Asya, we have seen Shashti Sambandha, etc. So everything is born of Brahma, including Veda, but out of whatever is born out of the Brahma, the Veda is the only thing that is born of Brahma, which also has a peculiar feature that is the only thing which can take you back to the Brahma. All other things created by the Brahma, including the Maya, cannot alone take you back to the Brahman. But the way to go back to the Brahma is through the mouth of Vedas. That is why Shastra Yonitvat. Both ways it can be interpreted. The way to reach Brahma is through Veda. or Brahma is born out of the yoni of Brahma, whichever way we take it. Now, Purva Mimamsaka are coming out with further objection. Their objection is, the Purva Mimamsaks are now asking an objection, and the objection is, if Janmadyasya Yataha, you have already said, everything is born out of Brahma, that you have already said. Why again you are saying Shastra Yonitvat? When you say everything is born of Brahma, even Vedas are born out of Brahma. Why you want to re-emphasize it, saying that Shastra Yonitvat, even Vedas are also born? You have already said that everything is born of Brahma. No? Everything includes Veda. Why you are wasting one more sutra on it? Which is an insult to the sutra, because sutras are not supposed to be repetitive at all. It is a dosha. So the Purva Mimamsak is asking, when Janmadyasya Yataha you have already said, why the hell you are again repeating as Shastra Yonitvat? Everything is born of Brahma. Agreed, that is what you are saying. Again you say, Ved is also born, or Ved is already included in everything. See, every single thing has to be justified in a scripture. So Purva Mimamsak have created this paksha. In fact, Shankaracharya only has created this Purva paksha, but he has gone into the mind and heart of Purva Mimamsak. That is why always remember one thing. In the Indian philosophical treatises or scriptures, before commenting on any of the grantha as opponent, the Bhashyakar is supposed to have studied that particular philosophy in detail. To give an example, Madhvacharya, Kattar, stubborn Dvaiti, completely diametrically opposite of Shankaracharya. He has in his Bhashya, again of Brahma Sutra, he has threadbare destroyed Shankaracharya through arguments. But while doing so, he has created Purva Paksha of Shankaracharya and Dvaita as Uttar Paksha or Siddhanta Paksha. But if we read the Purva Paksha in Madhvacharya's commentary, you realize that his study of Shankaracharya was so great that by studying Madhvacharya's Purva Paksha, you can completely understand Advaita Vedanta. These are called honorable opponents. This is Samvad, not Jalpa. Samvad is you respect the intellectual ability of the opponent. Study what he is trying to say and then give your argument so that the best may prevail. That is why Shankaracharya had studied Veda as well as all the darshanas in depth. It's a different fact that he studied all the Shada darshanas way early when he was barely 7 years old. As a result, he is able to create the opponent, Purva Paksha, properly. So now Purva Paksha is saying that when you said Janmadyasya Yataha, why are you again saying Shastra Yonitvat? And the answer given by Shankaracharya, Siddhanta Paksha, is Kevalam Anumanam Upanyastam iti Ashankayet. I am trying to tell this, re-emphasize this through third sutra. Badarayan Roshi is giving this third sutra not as a Dvirukti dosha. He's not repeating what he's saying. He's saying it again to emphasize that by any chance, if you have in your mind that Brahma can be understood by inference or Anumana, to shatter that, to completely remove that particular doubt in the mind that Brahma is Anumana Gamya, I am repeating this statement. This is for Suspashtikaran of the second sutra. Now the Purva Mimamsak are not going to keep quiet. We are not studying Purva Mimamsa in detail, But the relevance and reference which is coming up Purva Mimamsa, that much we have to study. What is all the darshanas talking about? All the darshanas or all Shad darshanas are talking about complete absence of sorrow, dukha, sa karana dukha nivrutti. Karana sah dukha nivrutti is the aim of all the darshanas. Otherwise, why would you study something theoretical? Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, they all are talking about a state which is completely devoid of sorrow, and that which is devoid of sorrow is also devoid of pleasure, because pleasure is a relative component of sorrow. So every one of them is assuming a state in which there is no sorrow. Sankhya call it Kaivalya. Sankhya and Yoga, they call it Kaivalya. Nyaya Vaisheshika Purva Mimamsa call it Moksha. Advaita also calls it Moksha. In other words, what is the main aim of achievement? What is the main thing that we intend to achieve through all the studies, whether whichever Shastra, whichever Darshana we are studying? Ultimate Avastha Prapti, named as either Kaivalya or Moksha or Nirvana in Buddhism. You reach a stage where there is Karana Saha Dukkha Nivrutti. That's why Vachaspati Mishra Maharaj has said in one of the places, Yadi Jagati Dukkham na syat, Shastra Jitnyasa na bhavet. If there was no sorrow, there wouldn't have been any Shastra. You may name it in different ways. The problem is I have sorrow because of my relation, because of object, because of subject, because of this, because of that. I have lost my eye, I have lost my vision, I got pain. At the end, all comes back to only one thing, dukkham. Vivekena tu sukha dukkham. We saw it in Patanjali Yoga Shastra that the yogi always sees sukha also as dukkha. That is why Gautam Buddha, when he gave it 3 cardinal principles, the first cardinal principle that he gave is world is full of sorrow. He did not say that world is full of sorrow as well as little pleasure. That is not the statement. He was a yogi of highest order. He said world is full of sorrow. So the aim of all the darshanas is to get rid of the sorrow permanently. Permanently means there must be some karana for dukkha. So if you remove the karan, dukkha will go. So karana saha dukkha nivrutti is the aim of all the darshanas. Once this is sure, then comes the question, how do I get it? How do I get karana saha dukkha nivrutti? Karan sa dukkha nivrutti avastha is called moksha. How do I get this moksha? You get moksha by knowing the reality. This is what Advaita Vedanta says. You know Atma or Brahma, which is one and the same, and you will get moksha. Purva Mimamsi or Karma Kandi do not say like that. They say one must get moksha is correct. But to have moksha, there is no need to know anything about Brahma, because there is nothing like Brahma that exists. The Shastra is not talking about the Brahma at all. The Purva Mimamsa says, Veda do not speak about Brahma or Atma. You are unnecessarily bringing these things in between. Purva Mimamsa say, yes, it talks about moksha. Moksha is what our ultimate aim is. Agreed. Uttar Mimamsa also says moksha is required. Purva Mimamsa also says moksha is required. Sankhya also says moksha or kaivalya is required. Buddhism also says moksha or nirvana is required. Nyaya Vaisheshika also says the same thing. The problem is the difference lies in the definition of the moksha and how to achieve. According to Buddha, Purvamimamsaka, there is no need to believe in Ishvara, Atma, Brahma. All these things are not required for moksha. Sankhya says Brahma, etc. is not required. You need to only see the difference between Purusha and Prakriti. Day you realize that Purusha is separate from Prakriti, you are done. Moksha is done. Moksha or Kaivalya is nothing else but having the awareness that Purusha is separate than the Prakriti, according to Sankhya. Then comes the question, all these people have to be completely, one of them must be true. All of them cannot be true. One of them must be true. And one who is true has to defeat by logic all the other people. But to defeat them in logic, first we should know what exactly they are saying, of which, of the Shaddarshanas and Buddhism, etc. Now, right now, who has been taken as the opponent in front is Purvamimamsa. So in Samanvaya Adhikarana, Acharya is fighting with Purvamimamsa, trying to prove that how you are wrong in your concept of moksha. And the Vedanta is not talking about karma, it is talking about something beyond karma. He is not denouncing karma. Remember one thing. He is not denouncing karma, but he says karma alone cannot give you moksha. Purvamimamsaka are not ready to listen to this. They say that only karma, and karma, in fact, emphatically they say only karma can give moksha. And now both are fighting about interpreting the Vedas in their favor. That is why whatever interpretation Purvamimamsaka has done, those interpretations have been taken as Purva Paksha by Shankaracharya, and the answers are given to that. Look at the logical way the Purvamimamsakas are talking. How they are talking? They say in the Veda, it is talking about karma. What are the types of karma? We all know. The karma is of two types, Vihita and Nishiddha. Vihita and Nishiddha. Vihita means as told by Veda. Nishiddha also means as told by Veda. Then what is the difference? Vihita means as told by Veda to do, and Nishiddha means as told by Veda not to do. Purusha pravrutyartha, to do, is Vihita karma. Purusha nivrutyartha, Nishiddha karma. This much we all know. Look how the Purvamimamsa is going to build its defense for the moksha and defense for the interpretation of the Veda. So to do or not to do. Now, has Vedas talked about sneezing and yawning? No. There is no mention of yawning and sneezing. So they consider yawning, sneezing, belching is not karma. These three are not considered as karma at all. Nishiddha is what Vedas says don't do. For example, surapanam, to drink alcohol, is Nishiddha karma. Don't do it. So your life, you have to fit into what Veda has given as the order. Veda's order is don't do Nishiddha karma. Don't covet somebody's wife, somebody's wealth. In simpler words, as Kabir Maharaj says, रूखा सूखा खाए के ठंडा पानी पियो, देख पराई चोपड़ी मत ललचायो जियो. So Nishiddha karma don't do. Okay, we will not do that. Suppose I want to follow exactly the Vedas, Nishiddha karma I am not doing. I am doing only Vihita karma. What are the Vihita karmas? They are of 4 types. We know that. Nitya, Naimittika, Kamya, and Prayashchita. There is no 5th type of karma. You see, you analyze also. There are only 4 types of Vihita karma. Nishiddha is anyway gone. We are not into that category at all. One by one, Purva Mimamsa is building its way how to attain moksha. Nitya, Naimittika, Kamya, and Prayashchita. Now, Nitya, Naimittika are the type of karma which if you don't do, you will get papam. It is adharma. If you do, there is no punyam. It's very peculiar with these 2 karmas. In other words, these are must do things. Must do. But there will be no phalam. If you don't do, there is a phalam. Very peculiar kind of karma. So what is the Nitya karma? Sandhya Vandana. Every day you are supposed to do Agnihotra, Sandhya Vandana, through which you again remember the Almighty, the Lord, which is Nitya karma. Naimittika karma, a karma which is made for a particular reason, nimitta. For example, Shraddha. Shraddha, if you do, you don't get punyam. But if you don't do, it is adharma, papam. Because it's a part of your duty for the departed soul. Chandra Surya Grahanadi Karyam. In the Grahana of Chandra and Surya, certain danam, etc. is expected from you, which is a naimittika karma. There is also a karma called Utthana karma. Utthana means to get up. Whenever anybody who is elder in age, elder in jnana, elder in ashrama, that means somebody who is in brahmacharya ashram, he must get up when grahastha comes. Somebody in grahastha must get up when a vanaprasthi comes. And all the 3 should get up when a sannyasi comes. Get up means to give the respect, maybe touching feet or getting up. It is called Utthana karma. It is a naimittika karma. If you don't do, it is papam. That is one of the reasons when we come across somebody who is elderly or something, we try to touch the feet or bow in front of him. Even the remembrance of Gurudeva or Shankaracharya, we fold our hands. Why? It is a naimittika karma. So Nitya karma and naimittik karma, you are supposed to do, bound to do, must do, which will not give you punyam, but it will not incur papam. So that is about Nitya Naimittika karma. Then comes what is called as a Kamya karma. Kamya karma is Vishesha Phala Prapti karma. Now in Vedas they have talked about Kariri Yaga Yajna for rains. If you want rain to come, you do a yajna called Kariri Yajna. Or if you want Swarga Prapti, you can do Jyotishtom or Agnihotra or Soma Yajna. There are different yajnas. What is the relevance then in the current state, current period? We don't do these yajnas, but we do Kamya karma to have a good amount of apartment. I work hard to get the money so that I can get an apartment. It is yajna only. Working hard to do something for yourself is, but all of them are driven by a desire, so they are Kamya karma. Now, Kamya karma has a phalam. Whether it is a good act or a bad act. Bad act we are not talking about because Nishiddha karma is already left behind. We already saw that we are not going to do Nishiddha karma. When I don't do anything which is not told by Vedas not to do, that means my Nishiddha karma is gone. In Vihita Karma, Nitya Naimittika, I will continue to do till the last breath of my life here on this earth. Kamya Karma is the only one that gives me phalam. For that phalam, I'll have to be reborn. Because this birth, I wanted to be first in the class, as well as I wanted to have 4 cars and 2 bungalows. Now, this birth, it didn't happen. So because of that, I will be born again. Now, if for some reason, out of some vairagya, I develop a neutrality towards the desire. Example is, in our childhood, we all wanted that marbles with which we were playing, we wanted a lot of marbles to win. If now somebody tells you that, would you like to have marble? You say, no, I don't want it now. That was in childhood I was doing. Why? Your ichha for that marble is gone. So in the past birth, you must have thought of becoming a king or having multiple queens or having a palace, etc. But if your ichha is gone now, then those ichhas that were done in the past also, they will not give you any phalam, because the kamya karma has become tanu. That means slackened. It has become weak. So if the desires have become weak, then the old desires will not be having so much of force for me to take again birth. Remember, we are creating a Purva Paksha stand. Right or wrong is not yet said. This is a Purva Paksha stand by the Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa says, as a human being, when you are born, do your Nitya Naimittika karma. Do not covet anything as kamya karma. So you will not, in this birth, don't say, I want to be this, I want to do this, don't say that. So there is no kamya karma happening by you. And in this birth itself, when you say, I don't want anything, so even if you have said that I wanted this in the past birth, those ichhas are already have become weak and gone. So out of Vihita Karma, 3 karmas are already discussed. The last one is Prayashchit. Prayashchita Karma is basically Papa Nivrutti Vidhana. Example, if a sannyasi or the person who is giving pravachan on Bhagavad Gita or something, he is called by some people that, please sir, please come and talk about Saptamadhyaya. He goes there, he talks there, and then just before leaving, the organizers thanked him and gave him a small envelope of 1000 dirhams. What happened? Papam happened. Why? Yati should not be doing dravya grahana. For a high level function like doing a pravachan or giving a discourse, one cannot, should not, ought to not to expect any return. But if he takes that, it is a papam, he has to do prayashchita. And the prayashchita is tatkala dravya tyaga, you give the envelope back and fast for 3 days as per Veda. This is called prayashchita. This prayashchita is known as asadharana prayashchita. Asadharana means there is an incidence that has happened. That is why I am taking the prayashchita for that. This is called asadharana prayashchita. There is a sadharana prayashchita also. What is sadharana prayashchita? I have got the body. Sharira dharana is itself for prayashchita. Which prayashchita? Prayashchita of past papam. Now, I don't know what papam I have done in my past birth. How can I do that? In the present time, as explained, I went to some satsang and they gave me some money and I took the money. There is a definitely a sadharana prayashchita. I will give back the money and fast for 3 days. So prayashchita is done, no papam. Papam is over. But how do I know what kind of prayashchita type of karma I have done in the past? I don't know that. And how many births are there? So all the prayashchita karma of the past all births is done by sadharana prayashchita, which is done through Ishvara Namocharana with Ganga Snan, as per the Shastra. So if you do Ishvara Namocharana or a japa, Harimukhe mana, punyachi ganana ko na kari. Jnaneshwar Maharaj in his Hari Path, the first sentence he says, Harimukhe mana, punyachi ganana ko na kari. Meaning, all the Papa Rashi will be burnt by Harinama Uchchara. So that is called Sadharana Prayashchita. So how do I spend my life when I'm born? Keep doing Nitya Naimittika Karma. 1, so that you don't incur papam. 2, do not covet anything or do not have desire kamyata, so that past kamya karma as well as future both are gone. Keep doing prayashchita karma through Harinama Japa. Now what happened because of this? Sanchita, whatever Nishiddha karma you have done in Sanchita is taken care by Ishwar Namocharana. Whatever is there in the Kamya karma in the Sanchita is anyway now weakened and gone out. Nitya Naimittik, I am performing so I don't have incurred any sin. That means there is no Papa Punya Utpatti during my birth here itself. And when there is no Papa Punya Utpatti or Papa Punya Shesha, you automatically attain the moksha. When it is so simple, why the hell one has to take recourse to Brahma and Brahma Jnana and then you have to meditate and go beyond, etc. Vedas don't talk about this. They talk about this because all this Kamya, Vihita, Nishida, this is what Veda is talking. So, keep doing the karma. While doing the karma, just follow the instruction that Nitya Naimittik to be followed regularly. Kamya to be abandoned as early as possible by abandoning the desire. Never to do Nishiddha karma. And keep doing Sadharan and Asadharan Prayashchit till the last breath. This much if you do, you definitely attain the moksha. Sounds perfectly logical. If that is so, when Papa Punya Pratibandha Karma Phala is moksha. So moksha is a phalam. Moksha is a phalam. Actually, moksha according to Advaita is not phalam. Because phalam is always for the karma. Purva Mimamsak says, yes, it is for the karma. That is why we are telling you, Papa Punya Pratibandha karma you do, as a phalam you will get a moksha. Advaita Mimamsa, Advaita Tattvajnan says, whatever karma you may do, you will not get moksha because moksha is because of jnana. And moksha is not phalam. So it cannot come from the karma. So that is why Purva Mimamsak are not going to take it easily. They are going to continuously argue with the Advaiti or Shankaracharya. So Jaimini Sutra Purva Paksha again says, it keeps on pushing further. After giving this much of logic of how to obtain moksha, further the Purva Mimamsa says that the Jaimini Sutra states that first sutra is Athato Dharma Jidnyasa. In the second sutra, it says Amna Yasya Kriya Arthatvat Anarthakya Tad Arthanam. This is the golden principle or the most important sutra in Purva Mimamsa. Amna Yasya Kriya Arthatvat Anarthakya Tad Arthanam. What is the meaning of this? The meaning is Veda Vakya are for Karma Uddesha, and those Veda Vakya who do not speak of Karma are Nirarthaka. So, Uttishta Jagrutta Prapya Varanni Bodhat, either it is Karma Bodhak or it is Nirarthaka. Not only that, Jaimini Maharaj goes a step further and says, Vedantanam anarthakyam akriyarthatvat Vedanta Vakya. Because Vedanta Vakya are nirarthak, because they do not indicate any action. There is no karma into it. If at all we have to accept, if at all, because it is a part of the so-called Veda, if we have to accept those Upanishad statements, Jaimini Maharaj says, I'm ready to accept them, but for a different reason. At the max, Kruta Devatadi Prakarshanarthatvena va Kriya Vidisheshatvam Upasanadi Kriyantara Vidhanarthatvam. At the max, I can accept those statements in Upanishada as part of Veda, provided they are interpreted as Upasana of the Deva. There is nothing, no Brahma. Don't bring Brahma in between. Those Upanishadic statements are talking about Deva only. And what is Deva? Deva is somebody who has gotten rid of Nishiddha Karma and Nitya Naimittik he has been doing properly and he's moving upwards. So it's a progress of a human being becoming Deva and getting moksha. Again, Purva Mimamsa is not stopping only at this point. See, one after the other objections are coming. Actually, the objections are created by Shankaracharya only. But to what depth he is creating the objections, so that tomorrow if a Purva Mimamsik reads the Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, he will be clear about his doubts. Next objection is, Nahi parinishthati vastu swarupa pratipadanam sambhavati. Why would Veda talk about something that is already existing? Veda talks about karma so that apurva, phalam, which is not there, will come to you. For example, Swarga. Right now, we don't have Swarga Sukha. So, you do this yajna, you will get the Swarga Sukha. This is understood. But suppose you are already staying in Swarga, why will you do the yajna? Similarly, if Brahma is a Siddha Vastu, according to Advaita, Brahma is always available. Why would you do yajna for something which is already available? On one hand, you say Brahma is forever available. Atma is within you. It is right there inside you. In fact, it is at the heart of you. Angushta matrena, Kathopanishad says. It is right here inside you. That means it is a Siddha Vastu. If Siddha Vastu, if you say Atma is there, why would Veda speak about it? Veda doesn't speak about that which is already existing. Veda is talking about all the yajnas for apurva, that which has not yet obtained. Otherwise, why would anybody do an action? Karma, why would you do? Karma you do for phala prapti. And if phalam is already available, why would you do karma? Pratyakshadi vishayatvat parinishta vastuni tat pratipadanech heya upadeya rahite purushartha bhavat. And if at all, suppose, even if it is talking about an existing thing, Veda will give ajna, either accept it or reject it. Does it say accept Brahma, reject Brahma? No, it doesn't speak like that. So first of all, it will not speak about an existing thing. If at all it speaks about either accepting and rejecting, because Veda ajna, Veda always gives ajna about don't do this, do this. Do this karma, don't do this karma. Vihita, nishiddha. Nothing of this kind it is speaking about the Brahma. If that is the case, then nacha parinishtate vastu surupe vidhi sambhavati. Brahma jnana cannot be vidhi vishaya. That means cannot be a vishaya of the Veda, because vidhi is about the kriya. Kriya vishayatvat videhe. Vidhi means Veda. Veda is about kriya, action, karma. And Siddha Vastu, for Siddha Vastu, there cannot be any karma. That is why Veda do not speak about Brahma. They speak about karma. This so-called business of Brahma, etc., is unnecessary creation by some people who think that there is Brahma Jnana in that particular Veda. This is the Purva Paksha of Purva Mimamsa, to which now the Siddhanta Paksha or the Shankaracharya is going to give an answer. And the answer is, while stating the answer, Shankaracharya says, you have created a defense. But let me tell you, those statements or utterances which you could not interpret properly, you interpreted as something meant for karma kanda. It is not so. You need to interpret all these solitary statements or apparently bizarre statements of Upanishada in a proper reconciliatory manner. The utterances of Upanishada have to be understood in a particular perspective. And if you do that, then only you will come to know the real meaning of those statements. Otherwise, like you will interpret it only for the karma kanda. That is why he says the fourth sutra has been given by the Badarayana Rishi, which says tat tu samanvayat. Tat tu samanvayat. Tat means tasya shastrasya, that is Shruti, Veda. Tat tu, but samanvayat. Vedas are meant for samanvaya. That is why these four sutras adhikaran is called samanvaya adhikaran. Samanvaya means right interpretation of Veda Vakya by correlating properly and not jumping to haphazard conclusions by taking only one side. That is why, although very staunch defense has been put by the Purva Mimamsa saying that only karma can lead to moksha, it is not the way it should be interpreted. It is a wrong interpretation. Acharya says, I am not denouncing the karma, but you people are saying do karma and that's it. Nothing more is required. I don't agree with that. Do karma, but karma has a phalam and the phalam is chitta shuddhi. Moksha is beyond that. Only when you do karma and have the chitta shuddhi leading to sadhan chatushta, then your next journey starts. That is why my first sutra of Brahma Sutra is Athato Brahma Jidnyasa. Athato Dharma Jidnyasa is correct. That is for the chitta shuddhi. Purva Mimamsaka are not ready to accept. They say we are the end in itself. We are not the beginning. Acharya says your path is the beginning. My path is the end. And this can be explained. Acharya is trying to put his defense now. He says, I can explain you this by correctly telling you how to interpret these statements or utterances, not the way you interpret it, but the way I interpret it. How? By using the reconciliatory approach called samanvaya, by creating the right purport of the utterances. How that samanvaya is going to happen would be the subject of the next pravachana. So defensive or the defense from Purva Mimamsa has been seen by us through the interpretation of dharma, papa punyam, different types of karma, etc. Now Acharya is going to give the answer through fourth sutra called Tattu Samanvayat. Hari Om. Om Purnada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Hari Om. We'll have some question answers.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
Yeah. And the sannyasi is a jnani and he is supposed to give the jnana yajnas and he has to his basic duty is to impart the knowledge, and when we grihasthas are accepting that knowledge, we are supposed to give some guru dakshina for that. how can it be a papam? What is this Purva Mimamsa people are saying about this giving the dakshina?
Giving dakshina is not papam, receiving dakshina is papam.
Okay, he has to survive, no?
Survival is by the bhiksha. Bhiksha is not dakshina. Bhiksha
Okay.
is considered as a right of sannyasi. In sannyasashrama, sannyasi has been given a right to have bhiksha from rest of the society. And that is why, depending upon the capacity of everybody who is around the sannyasi, is supposed to feed him. At the same time, the sannyasi cannot expect a bhiksha. If it comes to him, he will accept it. If it doesn't, he will remain on fast, saying that it is Ishwar Ichha. So Guru Dakshina, Kamini Kanchana cannot be even touched. That is why 10,000 Indian rupees a Marwadi was giving to Swami Ramakrishna Paramahansa. He did not take it. A coin put on his bed was making his body bent because of presence of a coin. So Kamini and Kanchana cannot go anywhere close to a true sannyasi, and a sannyasi would die even of hunger or starvation because he has no relevance left for the body. It is only for the Loka Kalyana. If he happens to be amongst the people, the bhiksha comes to him as a divine intervention to sustain the sannyasi, because to sustain a sannyasi is God's duty. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. And to test this, people, the saintly people like Abhedananda Maharaj and Vivekananda Maharaj have tested it by going in deep into jungle, trying to see whether somebody will feed them or not, whether Yoga Kshemam will happen or not. For Swami Vivekananda, in the middle of the jungle, somebody followed him and gave him the food and disappeared. That is how Lord looks after the devotee.
Yeah, thank you. That is well explained. And Shakuntala ignored our Durvasa Maharshi, and because of that, she was cursed and she forgot her. Dushyanta forgot her, and also. So this we can link this to the papam of not honoring a sannyasi.
Not honoring a sannyasi. At the same time, for people like Shakuntala or anybody who comes in contact with such a jnani sannyasi, even if somebody receives a death at the hand of a sannyasi, he will get salvation. Bhishma Pitama Maharaj, when he was on a Sharapanjara, he was smiling because he said, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, what more can I want other than the death at your hand? Because my life is done now. I will not be coming back anymore. Because the person whose body has been touched by Sri Rama, even the stone, when he touched it, Ahilya became mukta. So sannyasis or yogi or the rishis are of a very, very, very high order. Kartum akartum anyata kartum shakti. That is why when Ramakrishna Paramahansa gave a used was infected by cockroaches to be killed, the disciple did not kill them. He just left them outside because he was ahimsaka. And when Ramakrishna asked him, he said, sorry Maharaj, I did not feel like killing cockroaches. Ramakrishna Paramahansa got annoyed with him. He said, I gave you, you should have followed it. You should have killed all the cockroaches. The fact is, the death at the order of a sannyasi also leads to salvation. Hari.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Same thing happened to him. Kunti. Kunti, on the other hand, she served Durvasa and she got a boon and all, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well explained. Thank you.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji. This you said this not doing nitya karma, no phalam is there, but you will get papam. But is papam also a phalam, no?
Yeah, pap is a phalam. You will not get thing is, you will not get punyam if you do it. If you do it, papam. And papam, of course, because you've done a papam, the papam itself leads to the phalam. So you will have to in order to have the prayashchit for that papam, you will be reborn. But if you nitya karma, there is nothing, no outcome out of it, because there's no punyam. And papam is avoided because you did it. So it is a neutral, or it is a defunct function, but mandatory.
Okay. Many more questions?
Namaskar, I have a question. Dr. Sahib, Namaskar, Manasi. You just mentioned that Nitya and Naimittik karma, like the previous question was asked, having done has no punya, but not having done has papa included in it. I have two questions here. One is, there is no ready list or reckoner which says what exactly is Nitya karma and what is the Naimittik karma. Because if it is so important that not having done, it's going to, create a sanchay of papa, then every sadhak needs to know what are these karmas, one. And not having done, because it contributes to papa, the only way to overcome this, as I understood, is through nama japa. So then nama japa becomes inevitable for all sadhaks, because in past, births, what kind of karmas, nitya naimittik karmas we have missed, including this birth, is not known to us. So maybe that's the reason why all the saints and granthas emphasize on nama japa yajna. Is this correct? Is this understanding right?
Absolutely, absolutely right. The very fact that by Harinama Ucharana leads to slow dissolution of Kartrutvata. Every one Nama that you take, by that minuscule point, not 1%, your asmita or your ahankar goes down. Ahankar means reflection of the karta bhumika. As your karta bhumika goes down, then all your past karmas will still be there in the sanchita, but there is no taker. It is like a house without a landlord, because you will not pay rent to anybody. There is no landlord there. House is there, sanchita karma is there, but taker is not there, because taker is gone with the Lord Vishnu. How did he go there? By doing the namocharana slowly, then intensely, then entering into ajapa, japa stage, etc. This is a progression in a nama ucharana. And a nama ucharana can be done through any of the Navavidha Bhakti, which we do. As far as Nitya Naimittik are concerned, the whole list is given in the Veda. But the representative of that is what we saw today, something like the Shraddha, something like the Utthana Karma. And these are already ingrained in us as Hindu. Most of our Shodasha Samskaras are more or less related with the vidhis that we follow. They are related with Nitya Naimittik karmas. It is unfortunate that we have stopped following the Grahanadi vidhi. There are certain vidhis. Now, Grahanadi vidhi, Yajna Tapadana is already mentioned in 18th Adhyaya. And during the Grahana, if you do the Dana, is it not that you are following 18th Adhyaya? In our Karma Kanda system, it was given through some kind of either a story or either some deity or some devata, but what you were actually performing was Nitya Naimittik karma. Sandhya Vandana is a Nitya karma. Sandhya is Trikala Sandhya. Trikala means 3 times minimum, as from the bottom of your heart with the purity, you should be reciting that prayer for the Almighty. Gayatri Mantra, when you do that through the Sandhya, is basically again through Savitur. We are trying to remember that deity. These are all what is, in other words, non-remembrance of God on a daily basis is papam. Because remembrance of God on a daily basis through Sandhya Vandana, etc., or Agnihotra, etc., is nothing else but Nitya Naimittik karma. Now, why it is not giving punyam? It is not giving punyam because This is basically not to deviate from the path of Nishreyasa. This will help you. It is like this. If you wear a uniform and put a proper cover to the books and go to the school, what happens? You are a part of a discipline, but that doesn't give you any vidya. But if you are not disciplined, you will be put out of the school. So putting on uniform does not give you education, but not putting it can put you out of the school. This is something similar to Nitya Naimittik Karma. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Sir.
Sanjay, there is a saying, no, avasyam anubhavoktavyam kridam karma shubha shubham na bhuktam shiyate karma kalpa kodi shadairabi. Then it goes contrary to what you have mentioned now. We have to avasyam anubhavoktavyam. Necessarily, we have to experience the results of our karma, isn't it?
Karma can give you phalam in the form of dharma and adharma, papa or punya. All karmas give only two types of phalam, papam or punyam, dharma or adharma. There are some karmas, and we have seen that already in Patanjali, which is called as Shukla karma and Krishna karma. There are some karmas which are called Ashukla, Akrishna. That is why is it that a sannyasi doesn't do any of these nitya karmas and he doesn't get papam?
Yeah.
Have you seen sannyasi doing shraddha?
No.
He will not. Then why is he not getting papam? He is ati varna ashrami. He is scope of Vedas. That is why applicability of non-vegetarian diet to Swami Vivekananda cannot be done. It is not ahimsa for him. Because those who have already forgotten what himsa and what ahimsa is, for them, if ahimsa done or not done, either way it doesn't make any difference. But that is a different avastha, not a common human being's station. So that is why when we say that everything has to have a phalam, there are actions that we do which do not have phalam is its phalam. For example, the one who is Jivan Mukta, what is the phalam of what he does? According to the Shastra, it should give phalam.
Yeah.
Also goes and plants a tree. What is he has done a karma. Where is the phalam? But in the karma that the Jivan Mukta does, basic requirement of karma is not completed because a karma requires a karta. Because if you say phalam is meant for whom? For the upabhokta. When karta bhokta is not there, what will be that karma? That will be a barren karma. It's he will never conceive. So such karmas will never have any phalam. The Subhashitam or the Stotram that you said is applicable for the common or the human beings which are Dehadari. So that is the difference between the two. That is why Nitya Naimittik Karma is basically for the progress of the gentleman by not accruing direct punyam, but by saving him from the papam in which he may fall. A person doing Sandhya every day, Trikala Sandhya, very less likely that he will go and do a dacoity. Very less likely.
Yes.
So, effect, though it's not a punyam, it stops you from